I'm Rebecca Harmon, creator of Wow Foods, helping modern families eat to strengthen their physical bodies and their spiritual treasures. It is a beautiful Saturday morning. Welcome to my kitchen. I am making waffles. I want to show you one easy, simple step that you can add to almost any batter bread recipe to make it more digestible for your family, whether you're making pancakes or waffles or muffins or even tortillas. The simple step that you can add is a technique called an overnight soak. And what that means is we're going to take the flour from the recipe and some of the liquids from the recipe, and we're going to add a live probiotic food. And what that live probiotic is going to do for us is overnight, while I'm sleeping and it goes right in to get to work, it starts slowly digesting the sugars from the complex carbohydrates in the flour, and it also makes all the minerals and vitamins that are in whole wheat flour or whole grain flour more easily digestible. And this is really good for our bodies because if you eat a really high grain meal, it's going to, your body's going to go, whoop, this is going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take resources from here and resources from here, and your energy, it's going to make you tired. If you've ever had like a foggy brain or fatigue after eating a really high grain percentage meal, then this is a recipe that will help you get over that, especially breakfast. We don't want to screw up breakfast, the most important meal of the day, and make you tired the rest of the day. And so I want to take a simple basic recipe and show you what that looks like and how I'm going to slightly change it so that you can do the same thing with any of your recipes at home. So let's take a look at that. Okay, here is what our basic waffle recipe looks like. And you can see that I've separated the ingredients into the things that I want to soak overnight, which are on top, and the things I want to save out for the morning, which are on bottom. So on top we have our liquids, whatever is your fluid of the recipe. In this case it is milk. And I want you to notice that the recipe calls for 1 3/4 cup of milk. And for some reason in the video next I'm going to say 1 1/2 cups, but disregard that. It is totally 1 3/4 cups. So we have our liquids. The butter that I've chosen to add overnight. I love the taste of fermented, slightly soured butter, so I will add that in overnight, but you could add it in the morning if you wanted to. Then also the flour that we need here, the 2 cups, and then I choose to add salt the night before. And the reason I do that is because I don't use table salt. I use a mineralized salt of some kind, like pink or Celtic or even kosher salt, and those all have extra minerals in them, which have the potential of adding more minerals into our diet. And probiotics love and thrive on minerals too, and so we'll both get the best out of those minerals if we soak them overnight. So that's what I've done here. And then I have down here at the bottom the things I want to save out, the eggs. I know some people do like to add eggs to their soak overnight, but I do not like the taste of fermented eggs. So I'm going to add them in the morning. And then second, we want to leave out our leavening agent. And in this case, that's baking powder. But I want you to notice that the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of baking powder. But because we're soaking overnight and the probiotic is going to be working on that flour all night long, it's going to be pretty fluffy in the morning, and we will actually only need half of the leavening agent called for. Whether you're making pancakes or you're making muffins or some kind of quick rise bread, all of those are going to need less leavening agent. And I'm going to use about half for this recipe, which is 1 teaspoon. Okay, so once I have assembled the ingredients that I want to soak overnight, I'm going to add the probiotic. And I love to use kefir, but I want you to notice that you can use either water or milk kefir, whichever one you make at home. If you don't make one at home, you can use whey, which is the liquid that separates out of your yogurt, whether you purchase it or make that. And if you're pretty new to this homemaking thing and you don't make any of that yet, that's okay. You can totally use yogurt that you purchase from the store as long as it has live active cultures in it. Or if you prefer to use buttermilk, that's a great flavor for waffles. You can use that in your recipe instead, and we're going to add 1/4 cup of that. So that's how to do it. Now let me show you in the video a demonstration, and you can put it all together. Alright, let's get baking some waffles. Here I have 2 cups of my flour. I'm going to add 1 1/2 cups of the milk, and I'm using almond milk. And then don't forget, as part of the liquid, I am adding a fourth of a cup of kefir water. And you can use kefir water. You can, this is something that I make at home. It's really easy to keep growing, so I always have tons of it on hand. But you can use anything from something that you make, like kefir, yogurt, to something that you purchase, like yogurt or buttermilk. You just want it to be a living probiotic. Okay, so I'm going to mix that in and incorporate that. And next comes our butter. You don't have to add this the night before, like I'm doing here. You could add it the next morning, but I like the flavor that the probiotic gives the butter overnight. So I'm going to add that together, and lastly the salts. We're going for a teaspoon of salt. Boop, 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 boop. So you can see from the recipe the only thing we're leaving out here is the eggs and the baking soda, because the baking soda will be a leavening agent we can use in the morning. Okay, now what I would do with this once it's incorporated is take a little bit of plastic wrap or saran wrap and stick it over the top of the bowl and just leave it. And I want to leave it in a warm place overnight. So if you're doing this in the winter time and your kitchen's not very warm, you'll want to put it on top of your fridge, or maybe by your stove or whatever keeps you warm, whatever your furnace is, because you want this to be room temperature. So if it goes below 70 degrees in your kitchen, you might want to think of a warmer place. So here's my plastic wrap that I'm adding. And I'm just going to cover the top so that no little flies or fruit flies or any extra molds get in there while I'm sleeping. So you can do it in a bowl like this. I did it in a bowl so I could show you the texture really easily, but I often will do it in my blender jar so that I just I don't have to use a whisk. It's really easy. I dump it all in there, I turn it on, and leave it in the blender jar overnight. In the morning, all I have to do is add my eggs, and it's a really pourable, easy blender jar. But I did it in a glass bowl because I know that's what most of you will do, and so I wanted you to see what that will look like. Okay, so this is what I would leave on the counter overnight. I have prepared a special mixture overnight, so you can see what this looks like already. I just want to show you the difference in texture because it will change overnight. Okay, I just want to show you the difference in texture between the two batters that we have. This is the one that we made this evening to put overnight for a soak, and it is still pretty runny. It's a good waffle consistency. But this one over here that has been soaking all night long, I want you to first notice before we stir it up the bubbles that are in the batter. And those show me that the probiotic has done a great job all night long working hard to digest the flours for us. That's what we want to see, is those bubbles in the morning. And then as I mix it, look at how much more frothy and spongy this batter is. It has incorporated a lot more air into it, and so that'll help our pancakes or waffles be fluffy. So now I've woken up in the morning, I've got this excellent flour mixture that's ready to make waffles. All I need to do now is add my eggs and my leavening agent, which is baking soda. So I'm going to add my eggs. I've already opened them into this bowl and whisked them. And then for my leavening agent, I want to add my baking soda to a little bit of water. And you remember that I said that if you use an overnight process like this, you don't have to use as much baking soda in your recipe. I'm going to add a heaping teaspoon of baking soda to some really hot water. You can put it in straight, the baking soda straight into your dish, but since the batter that we made last night is pretty thick, I'm going to add a little bit of water, and this is about 2 tablespoons of water that I'm using to incorporate this baking soda. Okay, so that looks really fluffy and frothy, and I'm going to add it to the batter here. And as soon as I add that, it's going to get bubbly action going on, even more so because of the soda is going to react with some of the natural yeasts in the batter. Okay, so this is still a very thick batter. You can see it's clumping off my spoon very thick. And so I'm going to add a little bit more water. Now I like a thicker batter for my waffles. I like them to be really hearty, really dense waffles, so that I only need one or half of one. But if you like a really thin, runny batter, because you like really lightweight, airy waffles, that's fine. You can add plenty more liquids at this point. Okay, now it's time to stick it in the waffle iron, which has been heating up over here. I'm pretty sure you know how to make waffles, so I'm just going to show you the first one, and then I'm going to cut back in after I've made a whole bunch of waffles and show you what they look like at the end. I've dumped the batter on, and now I'm going to shut my waffle iron and let it cook. Okay, now that I've made a ton of beautiful waffles, I just want to show you how normal they look. They look like a normal yummy waffle. They might be a little darker than you're used to, but I used red wheat flour. If you want something that's a lighter consistency so you can like hide it from your kids better, then you're welcome to use a white wheat flour. And I want to show you some healthy toppings that I put on my waffles in the morning for my kids. You can go for something as simple as just plain old maple syrup. This is still my kids' favorite. I also really like applesauce and cinnamon. That's another of my favorites. We love coconut oil and butter. I'm totally not afraid to douse it in fat. It's really healthy for their little growing brains. And then my last, but one of my favorite toppings is a fruit syrup. And I've made mine really thick here. All I do is take whatever fruits that I've got on hand. This is a pear, but I've also taken just a bag of frozen mixed berries. You can do apple, you can do peach. And I put it on the stove for a few minutes, boiling to make it all mushy and smushable onto my waffle. And I've added a cup of agave nectar and a cup of water and let that just boil while I'm making my waffles. So there you have it. There's a whole bunch of different yummy things to put on your scrumptious waffles. For more wow habits and skills to help turn your kitchen table into a place of nourishment and treasure, give me a thumbs up and check out my other Wow Foods videos. Thanks for watching.